As we're heading into this weekend's minicamp, who are you excited to see most? Of course, Darnell Wright, he's our top pick. Outside of Darnell Wright, who are you most excited to see get on the field, see what they can do a little bit?
It'll be tough to tell this weekend because, until we see what the interior defensive line rotation is going to be, they signed Andrew Billings this offseason, and then, of course, Justin Jones is back. That what Ryan Poles talked about with having kind of that second wave, because they're a 4-2-5 defense, they're 42 nickel, like they're constantly rotating guys on the interior to keep your pass rush fresh because of, just how often, first the lack of the pass rush, but also how often teams are passing the ball. You have to counter that with what you're doing defensively. So how does that rotation work? Because both of those guys, Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens, with this front, they're interchangeable. So who plays a 3 technique? Who's the 1? Like who's a shade? Like all those things matter. And we won't really know that stuff until you actually see what this team looks like when it's lining up during training camp. But I'm excited to see 2 high potential, but lower production players coming out of college, what they look like when they can fit into this defense. And again, we won't know that this weekend, but I'm curious about the prioritization of the interior over edge rushers, because that is a choice that they made, especially in the second and the third round. And I know it was a weaker class of edge rushers, especially part of like day 2 and then day 3. But the answer you got from both Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus is that you cut the pressure on the interior. You want to dent the pocket. So basically, you want to keep the quarterback high. You want to make the job of the edge rusher easier coming off of the edge because of where the quarterback's sitting. So if these 2 are going to do their job and do it well, that's really important. So I'd like to see how they fit into it. And I know that, again, it's not something we're going to find out right away. Roschon Johnson and what this backfield is going to become, because let's not forget, it's not just Khalil Herbert. They brought in Deontay Foreman.
There's a lot of backs here. We talked about that yesterday with McKee.
And that's good. I think it's good because you have a quarterback who you don't want with 170 rushes again this season, but finding out the splits, like if you want to project the splits, because I know everybody wants to talk fantasy football and is Khalil Herbert going to have over under, I was asked the other day, like 144 carries. And I had a hard time with that because of course, if you think number 1 back, like absolutely it shouldn't be a problem, but Deontay Foreman and him both carried relatively similar-ish loads. I think Foreman was around 250 carries last year. Herbert was over 200, right at 200 or right below. He can be your lead back, but do they want to do it that way? When Ryan Poles talks about balance in the backfield, and you've got 3 guys who are powerful runners, and especially Roschon Johnson, when you think about breaking through contact and how many yards he got after first contact, how do you divvy up those carries? I'm really curious to see what this running back room looks like, and if they can try to have it, a lot more even in terms of how these backs are utilized, where maybe you don't have a true number 1 back, where you have guys with roles and the roles are eerily similar in terms of the usage rate.
I said this yesterday with J Mac on the show. I feel like Roschon Johnson could compete to be the number 1 back on this team by the end of the season because of everything that he does. He was a good blocker in the backfield.
And that's important. I mean, getting guys who are proficient in pass protection early on that's not easy. A blitz pickup in the NFL is a little different, even if you're playing in a Big 12, SEC, all of that. And that's something he takes a lot of pride in. And that's why I think the Bears were sold on him. And so the evaluation that we heard from one of their area scouts, John City, was just that this is somebody who, Bijan Robinson was a name in that program, but you walk into that building in Austin and they're all talking about Roschon Johnson being the alpha in that room. And I think that's important, not only from the on-field perspective, but the character part. And the character also plays into, hey, if I get handed this role, am I going to play it well? Am I going to buy into it? If I think I should be playing something else, but I'm not there yet. And that's important for the makeup of this roster, that they have a guy like that and several guys like that. Because I think that you might even see that in someone like Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback, who had to, find a role for himself at Georgia, wasn't thrilled with it, and then ends up transferring to Miami.
And that's the part to me where it's like, right, like I feel like Ryan Poles went out and got guys that fit what he's trying to do well, that what Flus is trying to do well. It didn't feel like they just went out and, this guy's talented. We want guys that are talented. We want the big name. We want, right? Jalen Carter would have been a Bear pick. Like, if we picked Jalen Carter, we'd have been like, just like the Bears have done forever. We went out and got the perfect 3 technique. Is there some questions with him? Yeah, but he's talented as all get out. We got guys now in the room that I'm like, okay, I see how he fits here. I see how he fits here. I feel like he's a 10-year guy. I feel like Roschon Johnson is a guy where we're going to be having a conversation very much like we did with Monty. Should we bring Monty back? Right? I know you got to pay him. I know that's not how people feel strongly about it, but Monty's a leader in that locker room. Tyreek Stevenson, right? Like, I feel like Ryan went out this year and he got guys that are going to shape their philosophy in Chicago. And that's what gets me excited heading into rookie minicamp. That's what gets me excited about this draft class, because not that I think these guys are going to be the most talented. I watched Noah Sewell miss a heck of a lot of tackles. I watched him make a lot, but like he got shook a couple of times. But I also watched him be a catalyst on that defense and a guy that was willing to do whatever coach asked him to do. So like you said, like that mindset to me is so important. It's not just about what's the best talent available, but it's also about who are the guys that are going to be able to fall into place. I feel like the Bears finally got all of the glue that they need. Now we just got to find some stars to stick to it.
And that'll happen over time.
Yeah.
But when Poles and Eberflus talked after round 3 and you hear about the traits that they really wanted. Of course, like this goes back to the combine when Eberflus was asked about the traits of a defensive lineman, because at that time it's like, all right, what's going to be the biggest priority? Will it be the offensive line? Will it be the defensive line? And it's big, long, and fast. And of course, every team wants that, but not every team's going to be willing to go and draft upon traits in the athleticism and the certain characteristics within the makeup of a football player that they really want, and be dead set on doing that. And maybe that's the reason when they pass up some of these defensive ends, some of the names like Adetomiwa Adebawore, it's kind of undersized, even though he was a really good player in college and one of the top prospects projected to go, and he didn't go till round 4. But maybe they looked at that and said, that's not the right fit in our system. Might be a right fit in Indianapolis, but not in their system. So I think you look at that and say, you got to give them credit for remaining pretty true to their board and pretty true to the things that they expect to play a big role in the makeup of the football team. Because it would be a knee-jerk reaction if they did it a different way, and that's not following the plan that they've been, like, why would you stray from the plan that you've been so methodical in enacting, like, for that?
Yeah. No, and that's it's so good to see a GM stick to the plan, right? Like the big thing with Ryan Pace, and we loved it at the moment, was he went out and got Khalil Mack. We loved that he got Khalil. Perfect. Okay, you went out and got this guy, but we still were sitting there like, hey, who's protecting Mitch? Like, you just drafted this kid 2nd overall. Whatever he becomes, but protect him, right? Ryan Poles showed up the first day. He said, we got to protect this kid. There's no way he should have got hit that many times. He shouldn't have been put in that position by the coaching staff that was in place. And it feels like the entire time as we've moved through this, even though we've selected some defensive pieces, changed some things on the defensive end, it's like you said, the focus is finally in Chicago for the first time in, I'm not going to lie, everybody's life. If you're watching this, the first time in your lives that they care more about the offense to me than the defense. We never would have taken a right tackle at that.
Yeah. It was
10th overall.
Since 2013, that was the first time they drafted an offensive lineman. That's why they put such a big investment in the workout and the whole scouting process, because if you get that pick right, then that is a franchise player. That's somebody that's going to be in the fold for you for a very long time. Yeah. And as we know, those players are very important in terms of protecting the quarterback and also just everything that allows the offense to do. So I really think that, and I know it's still early and we won't be able to judge these picks and really how the first couple years shake out until 5 years down the line to see how the rebuild got off the ground. But everything that they did lines up with everything that they told people they were going to do. So you really can't look at the Bears sideways and say, well, this, some fans are upset just about like the how quick this thing is going.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel like it's taken a long time. And trust me, I don't think they wanted to go through a 3-14 season, but they had to go through that to get to where they are right now, to continue on with this long-term rebuild where you get closer to contending. You don't make empty promises based on the personnel that you have that you're going to be ready to do it this year. And that's the smart play.
Yeah.
As frustrating as I'm sure for some Bears fans who expected a quick fix, it's not realistic. And I don't think that they've ever sold anybody on anything that has felt unrealistic.